clock that starts itself. Grandma's clock that starts itself. Hello, y'all. I'm Dianna Brianne. I don't give advice, suggestions, information, recommendations. I just share with you my perspective on different topics, as is with this one. Well, it was a really cold and kind of rainy, one of those kind of drizzly days, but it quit drizzling. And so about 3:30, I decided to go out for my 5 miles and my 5-mile run, walk, and waddle. And I did. And it was chilly. It was pretty cold, but I really, really enjoyed it. So I just got back a little bit ago. And so nonetheless, before I left, my clock was not going. And so there's a story behind this clock, okay, behind this clock here. I've got all my little Christmas lights on out there. And for those of you that haven't seen my Christmas tree, let me go in here quickly too and show you in here. And then of course we've got the outside lights going. And I don't know if you can see them. I've already done a video on the outside lights, and so if you haven't seen them, you can go back and look. But you can see some of the lights out there. And so anyhow, let me pick up this picture here. Okay. So I want to talk to you about the clock. Okay, this clock over here, it just starts up on its own, and you might say, well, that's impossible. Well, let me tell you the story. This clock works some of the time, but not all of the time. It will work when it feels like it. I'm serious. It will work when it feels like it. So I went out for a run, and I came home, and the clock was going back and forth. It started on its own. It starts on its own. I don't remember starting it myself. Now, do I wind it? Yes, but as soon as I wind it, much of the time, the clock will not work. The clock would just, stop after, 5 minutes. And so, periodically, it just starts up. And when it starts up, it usually lasts for, sometimes several weeks, and then it stops. And even though I will wind it and crank it up and do everything like that, the clock, it will not keep going back and forth. Now, I haven't taken it to a clock person, and I probably should do that at some point, but I find it just very interesting with this clock. And the clock just kind of has a mind of its own, so before I left, I don't remember it going back and forth at all. And periodically I'll go over and see if it'll start up, and then it won't, it'll last for 5 minutes, and then it'll stop. But I just happened to look over a little bit ago, and there it was, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Very, very interesting. Maybe I need to write a poem about the little old lady and the clock. I've already wrote a lot of poems about the little old lady and her clocks, her grandfather clocks. But this specific clock is very, very interesting because it's been doing this for, I think I've had this clock for about a couple years now, and I bought it at like an antique shop. And after I got it home, I don't know if it worked and then didn't work, or didn't work and then worked, or how it worked, but periodically it just starts up. It just starts up. And as it did today, now it's working just fine. It's just going back and forth and back and forth. So, I have this thing with clocks, and we have this old antique clock that was kind of given to my husband, but it needed a lot of repair to it. And my husband's never got around to repairing it. So one time I think he said, well, let's just throw it out. And I said, absolutely not. You don't throw a clock out. You give it away, but you don't throw it out. There's something about a clock that just seems special because it has to do with time. So either until someone repairs that old clock, or my husband repairs it, or whatever, we'll be holding on to that clock that's up in the attic. And this clock, it just really, really is really something. The clock that has a mind of its own, I guess. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.